Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of the Burning Desire Show. And today I'm pleased to be able to interview. We've had some slight technical fault, my fault probably, but Terry Phelan. And we came across each other, I think, on Instagram first, right?
Yeah.
We were kind of love of watches, and then I looked at your profile and thought it'd be pretty interesting to speak to you and to share your story, I guess.
Beautiful, no problem at all.
So, your basically your life's been dedicated to professional football, right?
Yeah, as obviously grown up as a young boy in between Salford or Manchester and Ireland, really, like I think like a lot of the older professionals, grown up on the streets and playing football and doing something what you love doing. Then obviously a little black and white TV in the living room. That's where we watch most of our games. Not like now where, you've got multiple games on, multiple choices. But, it just shows you how the game's grown from when we was young boys. But for me, it was sort of like the wall and a ball and myself, really, until the lads come out. It was one of those, wasn't it? Whoever had the ball won the game, was the captain, picked the teams, so the game never stopped, 20 aside. It went on for days, weeks, months, the old Wembley was kind of, again, there was probably 30 or 40 lads. The worst thing about that is if you scored the first goal, you had to sit out until the last man, and that could last for hours and days, like I said, and weeks and months. So, but it was fun, we didn't get the education the students are actually getting now, to tell you the truth. But it didn't do no harm to me, kicking a ball against the wall hundreds and hundreds of times, at the end of the day. People say straight line passing, but we played Wally where the ball was going on angles and you had to one touch get it back on that angle, to hit the wall. So it was all them type of stuff. And I think people around my era will tell you that and all. And it was fun. I think everybody knows about Kirby. You throw the ball against the curb, it'd come back up, you chest it, you fire it, you caught on your head. You didn't need nobody else. You just made your own fun kind of thing and use your own imagination. And that's what it was all about.
So when did you realise at what age that you were better than everybody else or people around you, or you had a talent for it?
Well, I mean, I got thrown in goals an awful lot because I wasn't the biggest lad, and I didn't enjoy goals, diving around on concrete on the curbs, and then the old wet Casey smashing into my face and, pushing my fingers back. I thought, no, this is not kind of for me. I want to be outside. So I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years of age, I decided, look, I can't be in goals. I've got to be outside where the action is. And I just ended up playing outside, playing obviously with my friends in the schools, like you says, watching it on TV. I think my first cup final was the 76 cup final, Manchester United and Southampton. And obviously the 78 World Cup in Argentina, which obviously Argentina won that year. So that's when I really, really got into it. But then playing for the school and then playing local football, and it just excelled from there, really.
So your first kind of foray into the pro ranks, was that in with Leeds, or you went into the Leeds United youth system? Like, how did that come about?
Well, yeah, that was a great experience, to tell you the truth. I could have signed for Manchester City on a 4-year contract when I was 12 years of age.
Wow.
And I remember Ken Barnes, he was the old Man City scout, coming round to the house with numerous of managers who was there then, and just asking me to sign a contract, and I'm like, do I sign? Do I not sign? No real education on it. My mother got that many flowers and that many boxes of chocolates. I could have opened my own flower shop or my own chocolate shop, to tell you the truth. It was like that. But no, I just think a good friend of mine, his father, Mark Russell, he was a Salford lad. He played for Bolton Boys. I played for Salford Boys at the time. I think I got seen playing for them. And obviously then the chief scout of Leeds come to the home. He said, look, we'd like you to sign for Leeds United. We'll match what Manchester City are asking for you. And there was a whole load of clubs to tell you the truth. There was Manchester United, Everton. I think Liverpool was one of them. There was Oldham, you know. So there was a lot of northwestern clubs who was buying for the signature, and I just decided, look, there was a couple of lads, John Sheridan, Darren Sheridan. There was a good friend of mine, Mark Russell, and you know there was Salford boys, Manchester boys, and I said, look, you know, I've got a better chance at Leeds, aging team in the old second division. Man City are paying a lot of money for players back then, £1 million for players back then, believe it or not. The chairman, Peter Swells, he was paying a lot of money for players, you know, $1 million. I think Trevor Francis was there at the time. I think a lad called Steve Daly, they paid $1 million for. And I'm thinking, you know, have I got a chance, you know, to get into the first team? And I was only 12, 13 years of age. So I ended up joining Leeds United. I thought to myself, look, I've got people up there travelling away from home, leaving home. I think I've got a better chance. And
is it changed now? But back then, we actually, at 12 years old, able to get paid for the work for playing. Because isn't it now you have to be over like 16 or 17? There's like different rules now, isn't there, compared to where it was when you first signed?
Well, obviously, yeah, there's obviously different rules and different wage structures. That's the way life is, isn't it? You know, what I was earning back then was, as an apprentice, £25 a week. You know, it's less than £5 a day if you do your maths, if that's right. So, you know, but it wasn't about that. It was about, you know, working hard to get into the youth team, to get into the reserve side, and to get into the first team, and obviously play national football for your country and all. So, you know, we always got told, if you perform well and you do well, the money will come, you know, but you've got to perform well first. I don't know what the wage structure is now at clubs for apprentices and young professionals. I know it's a hell of a lot more than what we was getting paid, but that's the way the world evolves, isn't it? You know, if you look at house prices, the dearer, cars are dearer, inflation's gone through the roof, wages are up there. So that wasn't the main focus for me. The main focus for me was watching the game on TV, and could I be a professional football player, and hopefully one day playing a cup final, hopefully one day playing a World Cup, hopefully one day play for my country, and get into the Leeds United first team. Because we had a group of wonderful young players then at Leeds United, and you know, we was going places. And Alan Clark come to the house. He said, "Look, we'd love you to sign." Yeah, no problem. And then I signed, and he sort of like parted ways. And then Eddie Gray come and he said, "Look, man, you know, we're still carrying on with the 4-year contract with you. Come and live up in Leeds early," which I did. Didn't particularly enjoy it. Didn't particularly enjoy the school because, you know, there wasn't playing footy there, and I just wanted to play footy. So yeah, I went back to Manchester, Salford for about 5 or 6 months. Finished my education off there. Played for the school. Finished that off, and then joined Leeds when I was around about 15 years of age.
So I'm interested two things that you've raised there, or the questions. What's the day-to-day like back then of a youth team footballer? Like what's the training schedule like? How much of it is like fitness versus, was nutrition a big thing back then? Like how was that at that point?
I can't remember a lot. I can't remember too much, to tell you the truth, because it was an awful long time ago.
Yeah.
But you know, ever scrape my mind a little bit. And what I do remember is cleaning stands, cleaning boots, cleaning footballs. You know, that was part of your, you know, ask me about games, and I couldn't tell you. But the things what stick in my mind is a group of lads buying for the same thing and trying to be the best, and a group of coaches who push you to the limits. And it started with your apprenticeship. You know, your apprenticeship was £25 a week. Monday morning, you'd come in. You know, you do your jobs, what you needed to do, and you'd probably train, and then you clean the stands. You know, spit and rub and polish the stands, clear the rubbish up. Oh yes, you get that job done, and then, you know, you'd probably have your, you know, I can't remember if we trained first or cleaned the stands first. I can't really remember. It was one or the other anyway. And then you'd have your lunch, and then you go back out in the afternoon, do a little bit of training. And then obviously you'd clean the changing rooms, you clean the halls, you clean all the equipment, you'd put the boots, clean all the boots. You'd be getting the kit ready for the first team and the reserve team players for the next day. So it was a full on job. You had to juggle cleaning, you had to juggle your playing. So it was a full on job, and I think I can remember just sitting on a bus and just falling asleep, and that's it, because it was a real 9 to 5 job, 9 to 5:30, 9 to 6 o'clock job. So, but that was part of being a footballer. It learned you an awful lot. It learned you an awful lot of, who you was, and a lot of it gave you a lot of social skills and all, to tell you the truth. And that's what I learned. Plus, you had to go to college 2 days a week, so you had to fit that in and all. So
was that standard studies, the college?
Yeah, you could do studies at the computer studies, media work, a bit of cookery. It learned you them life skills. It learned you them skills what maybe if you did make it as a professional, you was going to use. Obviously, I do a lot of media work in India now for Sony Sports. So it helped me doing the media side of it, to tell you the truth. So it wasn't easy anyway. For 2 years, it was hard work. I believe I only did a year because I did a year earlier. So I did 2 years apprenticeship, 2 years as a professional.
And you mentioned something that's pretty interesting that I think comes across all different industries and people, that when you were younger and you got into this youth academy, your initial thought was, right, I want to get into the reserve team, the first team, and then I want to play for the national team. And obviously win some stuff, I'm sure, as well. Like, where does that belief come from? Because sometimes people would argue, hold on a minute, like, you're barking up the wrong tree. You're dreaming. Or do you think that's required in whatever you're doing in life, to have those goals, as lofty as they are, something to work towards?
Well, if we go from back to front, you mentioned goals. I never set a goal in my life because I didn't know what a goal was. The only goal I knew was to put the ball in the back of the net. But particularly, no, you take one day at a time. You take your training at a time. I love playing football. You've got to have a love for it. I love, running. I love the whole action. I could have played all day long. Coaches had to pull me off the training field. They said you're doing too much. I mean, how could you be doing too much for training? You want to be the best. You want to be better than the next person to you. And that's what I always thought to myself. If I've got to be a football player, I've got to be better than everybody else, because people are waiting to take my place. Yeah. And I can't afford that to happen, because later in life, I want to put food on the table. And that's the God's honest truth. There's no lies about that. But my first initial thoughts was, I need to play in the youth team. Okay, then I need to be the best I can be in training, to be able to play in that youth team amongst the bigger and stronger boys. And my technical ability, my fitness ability, my tactical ability allowed me to do that. And I think I had the social side of the game. I was very headstrong. I didn't take no messing about when I was in training. It was serious when I was in training. When I played games, I was very serious. I was a completely different person on the field and off the field. And getting into the youth team was a stepping stone. The next one was, can I make it into the reserve side? I think I played in the reserves at 15 years of age, maybe 14 and a half, 15. I think it was maybe against Wolves or somebody like that. But these are memories which you're trying to flag back, and then you've got to think about, where do we go from the youth team? Well, the next one is the reserves. Where from the reserves is the first team? And you've got to work extra hard. I was a little bit lucky and a little bit fortunate, because there was one or two injuries. Frank Gray got injured. Gary Hampson got injured. And they had no first team left back. And obviously, they converted me from a left winger to be a left back. So I trained every afternoon, on the tactical side of, being a fullback. My running ability was okay. Technical ability was okay. But, you had to learn a little bit of the tactical as a left back. And I fully enjoyed it. I fully enjoyed the whole action of it, getting stuck in, playing against bigger, stronger boys. And that's what gave me the determination. And then obviously from there is playing in the first team. And that's the holy grail. And to play for Leeds United's first team was a great honour. And I had some wonderful players around me then, Eddie Gray, Frank Gray, Alex Sabella, who coached Argentina, John Sheridan, who played Scott Sellers, Tommy Wright, these Mervyn Day, these Kenny Burns, these wonderful professionals who learned you, because don't forget, you've seen them every day. You've seen them in training, you walk past them, you was given the kit out, they talk to you, you've seen it every day, and that give you that impetus to do really well, and you're cleaning boots, you're cleaning Kenny Burns's boots or Frank Gray's boots or Eddie Gray's boots, and you're cleaning these legends' boots. And there was nothing wrong with it. It was just part of life. And they'd come and talk to you and say, look, man, you've got a great chance. Get your head down and keep working hard. And that's all I really did. A good attitude of mind.
So talking of attitude, maybe this leads on to this question. When you were in the youth system, I imagine there were a lot of people vying for, the same kind of trajectory that you eventually went upon. What, in your opinion, you obviously now have more experience coming later as to the other side of football, as to kind of, modern day and what that looks like as a kind of in more of a operational role. But what does the difference between those that make it and don't make it? Is it more talent, or is it more the hard work and graft, the attitude that you mentioned that people put in?
Well, you need a lot of things, don't you? Number one, you've got to have the love for something you do. It can't be a chore. You've got to have the love for it. You've got to be the best you can be at it. You've got to work hard. It's like anything in life. If you don't work hard, somebody else is going to take your spot. So, and then you've got to have the mental side of it. We didn't have sports sciences then. We didn't have, coaches who would sit you down and go through analysis and analyze the game with you. We didn't have that. It was about you. It was about what you could bring to them, not what they could bring to you. That's the way it was back in them days. But I think for me, it was really, can you be the best you can be? Can you be better than the next boy to you? Can you help the next boy alongside you? Can you be vocal on the training pitch? Can you be vocal in the games? I think the kids are too quiet now, a little bit too quiet. They're scared of upsetting each other. I wasn't scared of upsetting me teammate, because it was about going out there and being the best. So if I had to upset him and he wasn't doing his job, I would tell him, because then that affected me. And that's what it was like back in them days. It was about all mucking in together and coming out of it. And, we congratulated each other. If somebody got into the youth team and the reserve team and the first team, we congratulated each other regarding that, and we wanted to do that. That was the whole part of being a football player. But I mean, if you look at the technical, tactical now, the social side, the physical side, the game has changed a little bit. They say the game has got a little bit quicker. The grounds have got quicker. Grass have got quicker. The balls are as quick. Boots are lighter. Players are looked after now, with all the sports science and the analysing they get and the analysts around them, and, the coaches are more educated, and the philosophies and the methodologies. So, but at the end of the day, it only boils down to one person. That boils down to you, Yeah, you need technical ability. You need tactical ability. But I think it's all about the mind. I think it's all about the social side of it, the psychological side of it. When you get knocked down, can you pick yourself up again? When you get injured, are you strong enough and you have that belief to come back, which I did an awful lot of times. And that's what it's about. And when you're younger, set in your mind that you want to be a football player, and you've got to have the love for that. And that's all it took me. We're all different, but I had that physicality of pace and power, and hard work, and the love of running and getting stuck in, and that hard work. I think if coaches see that, then you've got a good chance.
Going back to your career, you're at Leeds youth system. This is just from Wikipedia, so if it's right or wrong, I don't know. You'll tell me. You made 19 appearances in the 85-86 season, and then you moved to Swansea City, and then to Wimbledon the year afterwards. That's correct, right?
Well, yeah, that's correct. The games I played for Leeds, I haven't got it in front of me to tell you the truth, because my mind can't stretch back that far. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yes, Swansea was fantastic. I went there. I got released from Leeds with Billy Brenner. He said I was too small, but Billy, God rest his soul, he was a lot smaller than me, and he played in the great Leeds side, to tell you the truth, in midfield. So he just thought I was maybe a little bit too small as a fullback. But I'd played 19 games, like you said, so somebody had seen something in me. And obviously, I think coaches and managers have the different views, don't they? Maybe you wanted somebody 6'5", as a left back, but couldn't run up and down and didn't have the energy. That's cool, no problem. And I went to Swansea with Terry Orriff and Tommy Hutchinson. Tommy Hutchinson, ex-Manchester City, Coventry, Scotland. And obviously Terry Orriff, ex-Leeds United player, Spurs player. I think Terry played for Coventry and all. They got the job down, and he said, "Look, we're looking for a left back, Terry. Would you come down?" I jumped at the chance. And my mother said to me, "Why are you home an awful lot?" I said, "Oh, it's the summer holidays." I didn't tell her I was released, because I didn't have the guts. Now, it wasn't my fault. I don't think it was my fault. You play 19 times, you're doing awfully well. You think you got given a chance, but it didn't happen. But this is where the strength of mind and the strength of character come in. I didn't sit at home and just melt about. I did my training. I went out and trained every single day. While people were sitting on beaches, boys were sitting on beaches, boys was, down in the dumps. I never did that. And when I went to Swansea, I was super fit. And Terry Orriff and Tommy Hutchinson, I went down there. I signed a 2-year contract, and I'm thinking, yeah, this is fantastic. And I was down and playing in Swansea and loving life.
And so then you moved to the top division with Wimbledon. Can you talk a bit about that? And then in your first season, you had quite a success, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, Wimbledon, I remember Terry Orriff coming to me, what I can recollect, and he's saying, I want you to sign another 2-year contract. So I signed a 2-year contract in the summer, what I can remember. And then he come to me about 2 weeks later, says, "Listen, Terry, you've signed a 2-year contract. We want you here, but we have to sell you." I said, "Sorry, I've just signed a 2-year contract. What do you mean you have to sell me?" And I didn't want to leave Swansea. I had a great rapport with the manager, the coaches, the players, the supporters. I was playing fantastic football. And he said, "Look, we're going to sell you to Wimbledon." Wimbledon? Well, I'm not a tennis player. I don't have a racket or anything like that. He said, "No, they've got a football club. They're in the old first division." I said, "Really?" He said, "Look, we're going to have to take the money for you." I think it was around about 90 or 100,000. He said, "Look, this is a lot of money, Terry. We have to take it. We'll look after you." And off I went. I was gutted, really. Off I went to Wimbledon, which was, well, yeah, everybody knows about Wimbledon and the crazy gang, which took me about 6 months to settle in, because I just didn't know what was going on. Just the way they played, the philosophy, the changing rooms, how they went about things. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is just on another level altogether.
Why? In what regard? In what regard?
In regards to they did things differently. Training was different. The boys was proper boys. They mucked in, and they got onto you and all. I mean, I could handle it. I remember Vinny Jones coming to me and going, "Where did you come from?" I said, Swansea. He said, "Oh, did you play for any big teams?" I said, "Yeah, I played for Leeds United." What a fantastic team, a big team, Leeds United. And he was gobsmacked that this little quiet lad had come into the change room, didn't say much. let his running and let his football do the talking. But it took me a while to settle in. I mean, you know, things like, you know, they cut your clothes up. You know, if they thought your clothes was a bit dodgy, they'd cut the sleeves off, or they'd nail your shoes to the bench. Could you get away with that now? You couldn't. And this was like team bonding. This was morale. So you never used to wear your best clothes. You just used to wear a tracksuit. But if it was, you know, you'd wear a shell suit, wouldn't you? It was the shell suits back in them days. White pair of trainers. If they didn't like the trainers, they'd cut them up and say, get a new pair. You know, it was on peanuts then anyway, living in London on peanuts. So, no, it was fantastic. And, you know, I think them lads, they sort of like stuck around you. If they knew you was having a bit of a hard time on the field, they'd put their arm around you in a dressing room, they'd will you on. And I was having a bit of a tough time for 6 months. And I remember it clicking together in one game. I just thought, I've had enough of this, you know. I'm going to show them what I can really do. And then that was it. Boom. I remember them getting me and putting their arms around me and throwing me up and down in the dressing room and saying, welcome to the family. We knew you had something in you. And that was it. Yeah, the old Wimbledon. And obviously, you know, we went on and won the FA Cup in 1988. We beat Liverpool. I can't really tell you much about it. I know we scored 1 goal and Laurie Chances scored that goal. I think I got the free kick. And that's about as much. I remember Vinny Jones, he got stuck into Steve McMahon. And other than that, I think it was about 8,000, 9,000, maybe 10,000 Wimbledon fans. And that was it, to tell you the truth. But what a great day that was. Meeting Princess Di, you know, playing at the old Wembley and all. I think it was around about 98,000. I was 21 years of age.
Wow.
So, you know, for me then, you know, playing at Wembley and having watched the 76, you go back the 76 final, I think it was Southampton and Manchester United, and playing on the streets and every boy's dream, then to play at Wembley in front of 99,000 people was absolutely amazing.
Was that the moment that you thought I've actually made it, or was it before then?
No. Obviously, you played for Swansea. You was a regular, but you never rest on your laurels. There's always somebody who wants to take your place. You know, you might get injured. You have to be the best getting back from injury. You know, there's always somebody who wanted to. So I never rested on my laurels. I always kept myself super fit. God bless. And I had that mindset, that good attitude of mind that I'm not letting nobody take my place. But no, I don't think I arrived then. I was only 21 years of age. I still had a lot to do. I was in the youth, in the U21s, the B team for Ireland. Obviously, I played in the youth team for Ireland. So there was still a lot of work to be done, to tell you the truth. That was just one. There was still a lot of work to be done. You know when you've made it, when you're retired at 35, 36 years of age and you've had a good career. That's when you know when you've, you know.
With relation to Vinny Jones, what was it like playing with him, being around him? People have opinions of him as a character, but you know, what's it like actually being around him?
Vinny was Vinny. Vinny had he had, you know, that ability to get the best out of people. He had that ability to, you know, throw his fist around in the air and say, right, lads, come on, let's have him today. Let's get out there and let's make it tough for them. He knew his own ability, you know, and that's it. And he got stuck in. He got stuck in. He did simple things. He didn't over elaborate. People don't give him the credit what he deserves, really. But if you look at the teams he played for, Leeds United, Sheffield United, Chelsea, 2 stints at Wimbledon, played for Wales. So he must have had something. And here on social media, like, oh, Vinny Jones, he was this, he was that, he wouldn't play in today's game. But I think he would have adapted, wouldn't he? You know, he would have adapted, but he did a job for Wimbledon. It was no nonsense. And he did it simple. He got the ball, he passed it, he got stuck in. He waved his fist about at people to say, look, come on, you know, we're going to get beat. We're going to get beat doing the right things. And it was a lovely person off the field, Vinny. You know, he'd help you out as much as you can. Great attitude. Another one, loved the game. Don't forget, he come off the building sites. And, you know, he used to come into training, Vinny. now everybody knows he's a Hollywood star, and he's got his big farm now. I think now down in London on the outskirts. So wonderful chap, and he'd give you his all. He'd give you his all. That's what I can say about him. But very funny and all. Funny character.
So you spent 5 years at Wimbledon, making around two different numbers, around 200 appearances, something of that nature. And then you get transferred to Manchester City. Again, I'm just reading this. It could be wrong. It's wrong. For 2.5 million, which today is not insignificant, but then was actually, I believe, the British record transfer fee for a defender, as well as Manchester City's club record transfer fee. That was in the 92-93 season.
Yeah, I mean that just shows you, doesn't it? If you work hard and you put the effort in training, and you put the effort in games, and no nonsense, you have that good attitude, it shows you that it can be there. Don't forget, I got released from Leeds United at 19 years of age. I didn't let that affect me. I didn't dwell on it, like I said earlier in the interview. I thought to myself, okay, I need to show people that I can play the game, and I'm going to show them, and that's what we did.
Did you actively use that being released as like fuel or fire in your belly to really go ahead?
Yeah, because obviously, listen, at the end of the day, it was I got a second chance. I mean, don't forget, I played in Leeds, so people knew about me. I played in reserves in the youth team. But for me, it was, listen, I've been released. I can't dwell on that, but I'm going to show people that, what I can do. And I think winning the FA Cup, 5 years at Wimbledon, playing in the top division back then, which wasn't easy. I'll tell you that now, it wasn't easy. It was tough. They had some tough football players in them days, and there was no nonsense. And you had to just be as tough, mentally tough, physically tough. But then, obviously, going to Manchester City, I'd done my dues at Wimbledon. I've been there 5 years, and it was about time now. I could have joined Barcelona for $1.5 million. I could have joined Manchester United for $1.5 million. Then Ajax, Tottenham, Glasgow Rangers, Celtic, Everton, Sheffield Wednesday. There was a few clubs.
Did Barcelona Manchester United not tempt you as like the size of the clubs?
Oh yeah. But Barcelona was my first choice. But Sam Haman at the time, he said, "Listen, Terry, I know you're going to be disappointed, but we want £2.5 million for you." I said, "Sam, I'm very disappointed." I said, "I've worked hard for you at Wimbledon. I know you've paid me wages, and I appreciate that, but I've never let you down." And Barcelona would have been absolutely fantastic playing under Johan Cruyff, wouldn't it?
Wow.
The right age going there. Even Ajax, Celtic, Glasgow Rangers. But Manchester City coming at the last minute, and I think Crystal Palace with £2.5 million. And I turn around and says, "Look, I'm going to Manchester City, and I'm going to tell you something now. I think you might be a Manchester United fan, are you?"
Yes, I am.
Yeah. My first shirt was a Manchester City shirt, and I got it given to me by the next door neighbour in a pair of football boots. And remember the old blue and white one?
Yep.
Blue and white one. And I used to wear that in Salford. Can you imagine wearing that in Salford? No wonder I was quick. And this is the thing, and this was way before. I was probably 7 or 8 years of age then. If I can think about it, I'm not too sure. But I and I thought, oh, Manchester City. I love the colour. I didn't really have any recognition that Salford was a red area time. To tell you the truth, I've just played football, but no wonder I was quick, because I used to get chased now and again by all the United fans. I never took the Man City shirt off. We only had one shirt. The cuffs was all frayed and that, and it was great. And and I thought back to them days. I thought, supporting Manchester City as a young boy, supporting Liverpool as a young boy. I had two teams, Manchester City and Liverpool. I love Liverpool because the way they play the football. I love Dennis Stewart. I love Peter Barnes. At Manchester City, and then the old lads like Mike Summerby and Mike Doyle and Joe Corrigan, and he used to go down there. But my brother was a Manchester United fan, so he wouldn't bring me down. My mum was a Manchester United fan. So nobody would bring me down to Manchester City. So I said, right, I'll get them back then. I'll sign for Manchester City. So I signed for Manchester City, and Peter Reid. Brian Robson turned around and says, look, Terry, we want you at Manchester United. I'm going to the gaffer, who was Alex Ferguson. Look, $1.5 million. And obviously they accepted it, but Sam Haman at Wimbledon said no, it's $2.5 million. So I went to Manchester City, and I thought, brilliant, this is going to be fantastic. Running out in front of the Kop, dearest left back in world football, I think at the time then, £2.5 million. But I still had to work hard. I still had to show the supporters that it's their money, that I'm going to work hard for them, and hopefully we can go on and win things.
Did you feel a new pressure?
And shut the noisy neighbours up.
Did you feel more of a pressure because you had a big price tag on your head that you had to perform even more so now you were kind of, the most expensive player? No,
I felt more pressure when I went to Wimbledon, because they paid £100,000 for me for a club like that.
Right.
I felt more pressure there, to tell you the truth, than going to Manchester City. Don't forget, I'd played in the old First Division for 5 years, so I'd had that experience. This was a new experience. This was like, a big club. The expectations from the fans was there, but I already said the first game I said I play, I'm going to go out there and just work my socks off and make them appreciate me. It's not all about flair and skill. It's about, supporters want you to roll your sleeves up and work your socks off. And that's what I always brought with myself from a young age, is work extra hard, work harder. And I keep saying work harder than the next person to you. But I think at Manchester City, don't forget, at Wimbledon, on a good day, 15,000 fans. Man City, I know you'll start probably laughing at this, 45,000 fans, great number, running out in front of that Kipax was special, So for me, there was no worry. It was just show them what I can do. Get out there, get your tackles in, Terry. Don't be scared, and work hard, excite them, get up and down the field, make it exciting for them, because they have paid to come and watch me, and that's what it was all about.
I think that's the right attitude. Again, on Wikipedia, it talks about this goal that you scored. Can you talk us through that against Tottenham in an FA Cup tie?
Wow, it's an awful long time ago. You're talking. What year was that?
It's a good question. I mean, well, you were with City between 92 and 95, so it's in between that period. It doesn't say exactly when it was.
I think if I can remember it, maybe I've been in the FA Cup. Was it in the FA Cup?
Yeah, FA Cup, yeah, correct.
I don't even know what round it was, to tell the truth. And I remember, because I think I showed it to the students at the academy the other day. I was showing it to the students, and I picked the ball up of Tony Colton. And a lot of the students say to me now, where I am in India, did you play football? I said, yeah, play for Manchester City. And now, obviously, Manchester City. Yeah. Oh, really? So I used to show them the video. So yeah, it was the FA Cup, playing against Spurs, and we thought that year maybe it was our chance, because we had a decent side under Peter Reid, and we went in half-time 1-0 up, and we're cruising the game, and then we find ourselves, I think, 4-1 down, 3 or 4-1 down, and I picked the ball up from, who did I pick the ball up from? It was in nets then. I think it was Tony Colton, and I just said, you know what, I'm a bit pissed off today. We're losing the game. We thought it was going to be our day. And I just picked the ball up and said, listen, I'll let you give the fans something to cheer about. And picked the ball up and went through. I only watched it the other day, I think, the game. Went through everybody and put it in the bottom corner, ran away, and that was it. That was it. And we lost the game. And that was a sad day. The day after was very sad, because we thought we could actually go on and win that trophy.
You've made allusions to it, but you then played during this time internationally as well for the Irish national team. I've got here 42 appearances for the senior side, and you also represented them at the '94 World Cup. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, the '94 World Cup, boy. What? I mean, you know what? We didn't have phones. We didn't have these modern technology then, you know, and clicking away. It was just about, like I said earlier on, you know, you have these dreams, and I do feel dreams come true. You know, I do believe that, but you've got to work hard. And I remember saying to you, the '78 World Cup, Argentina, Ozzy Idealist, Ricky Villa, Mario Kempes, Daniel Passarella, and then winning it. And I thought, oh, I'd love to play in a World Cup. You know, got to keep working hard. And I tell you now, I say about working hard. That's what it's all about. And you know, getting to the '94 World Cup was just that dream. What every boy or every girl, every student, boy or girl who are playing now wants to get there for the country and wants to represent the country. And obviously, doing that in the '94 with Ireland was absolutely brilliant. We had a wonderful coach in Jack Charlton, a bit mad at times, and Morris Setters, and wonderful players we had there. And all we had top world class players. You know, your Paul McGrath, Roy Keane. Everybody knows Roy. Mad as a hatter, Roy. But
What was like playing for Roy Keane?
Brilliant, just brilliant. You know what? I just can't. For me, it was, you know, he was just different. It was just that old-hearted. I loved him because he was a bit like me, just worked hard. Fantastic person, player, mad as an atom, bit great. You know, and we had people like Ray Houghton there, John Sheridan we played with, Niall Quinn. You know, you could go on and on and on. Paul McGrath, you know. So it was fantastic. I mean, to play in the World Cup was just, it's the pinnacle of your career, isn't it? Really, it's the pinnacle of your career to go on and play in the World Cup and do well in it and all. I think we got to the round of 16, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was in the States, wasn't it? That one, '94. But...
Yeah, I think it was in the USA. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just seeing if I can see the. That's the pot results of the draw group stage. Where do you think you got to round of 16?
Yeah. So I mean, it was you know, it was a wonderful occasion because don't forget Ireland got to the 88 Euros. They got to
you played Netherlands and lost 2-0.
Yeah, they got to the 90 World Cup, Ireland, and then we got to the 94, and then we just missed out on one or two tournaments with playoffs and getting beaten playoffs. But I think with the type of boys we had, it reminded me of a bit like Wimbledon, but you know, a better clientele, if I can say that. But you know, when you look at Wimbledon, a lot of the players got sold for millions. You know, Dennis Wise, Dave Besant went, Andy Thorne went for $1 million, Dave Besant, John Fashanu, like I said, Dennis Wise, Vinny Jones, myself, Brian Gale, Keith Curl went for $2.5 million, I believe. So a lot of players went. What I can remember of that. But I think playing in the World Cup, you know, like I said earlier, watching an FA Cup final, playing in an FA Cup final, watching a World Cup, playing in a World Cup, it doesn't get better than that, does it? Really?
Incredible. I want to ask you one more thing about your career, and then I've got a couple of more quick fire questions that I wouldn't mind you answering. So you're now in India. How's this come about? This is obviously where we find you now. You're literally in India as we speak. So what are you doing there? Yeah. How's that come about?
Well, I started in India in 2010. I was at a residential academy in Goa, Sesa Goa. I was there as the chief mentor, mentoring the students and the coaches, which was fantastic. And then I had 2 years back in the UK, back in the academy system, getting more education. And then I went back out in 2014-15 with the Kerala Blasters. You know, they've got probably the biggest fan base out in India there in Kerala. They have around about 45 to 60,000 fans, believe it or not, if you look them up, Kerala Blasters. I was there for 4 years. And then, obviously, I'd arrived in Bangalore. I was there as Kerala Blasters as technical director and arrived in Bangalore for Salford United Football Club as their technical director and been there ever since now. So it's been absolutely fantastic. You know, obviously educating the students, educating the coaches, different methodologies, looking at the game in a different way, looking at training sessions in a different way, how to adapt the training sessions, how to link the training sessions in, how to get the best out of the individual student, and just having fun with them and all, because they're only people. The students are only people, coaches are only people, having that element of fun. I know, obviously, doing a lot of TV work with Sony Sports. Been doing that since 2014.
Yeah, how do you find that? You enjoy that?
It's absolutely fantastic. Done a couple of World Cups, Euros, and then we have our own show called the Kickoff Show. And obviously we do the Champions League, and I'll start be coming around next week, Champions League. So we've been doing that. Of a good friend of mine, Mark Seagraves. He used to play for Liverpool and Manchester City. So nice. Been really enjoying it. So I must be enjoying it because I'm still here. So I really do. And by the way, it looks like you're in Spain there with them blue skies of Manchester.
This is Manchester. Yeah, look right behind me. You can see.
Yeah, beautiful, eh? Beautiful.
You've got to take advantage of it when it happens.
Beautiful. Yeah, but I see you wrapped up there. You've got.
Yeah, man. It's not warm. It's not warm.
Yeah, but no. Like I said before, I think sports is a great way out of it's a great way out if you can channel your energies into sports. It does help you in an awful lot of ways. It does help you socially, psychologically. It helps you. And I think if no matter, play as many sports as you can. I'm talking about the students now, and you pick one up what you really really like, or what you can really work hard at.
I think you've come across really well, to be honest. And I think a lot of the things you've said are very transferable, as I thought they would be, into whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you are looking to take up a new hobby or whatever it is. I think it's a lot of the themes and the threads of working hard, of finding something you're passionate about. I mean, that's what the whole point of this show. It's the whole point. So I'm very pleased.
I'll tell you a little story before I go. I was at Everton. I was at Chelsea, then went to Everton. Injuries, catching up a little bit. I played an awful lot of football, and injuries. And don't forget, I remember Roy Keane saying, "You work hard in training. Training's about working hard." And I remember coaches saying to me, "You're working too hard. How can you be working too hard in training?" I remember getting injured at Everton, and I was 18 months out injured. And I remember going to see a specialist in Harley Street, and he said, "Look, Mr. Phelan, I think, where would you like to travel to? What beach would you like to sit? What you want about beach?" He says, "I think, it's time to give the game up." I went, "Sorry, that's never going to happen." 18 months later, I get back playing. I ended up playing for Crystal Palace on loan, and I get back into the Ireland national squad. I play an extra 4 games for Ireland. No. Now, that doesn't tell you about hard work being in a gym day in and day out, and being not part of that group of boys who are playing week in and playing week out. We talk about psychologically. You've got to be extra strong. People forget that we do get injured. We do get down in the dumps, but you've got to pull yourself out of that. You've got to find yourself. You've got to dig deep. You've got to pull yourself back together again and say to yourself, "Listen, I'm going to get back." And that's what I did, 18 months, and if I was ever doing any motivation speaking, that's what we'll talk about. How did I get back? Why did I get back? What made me get back? Why didn't I just take the money and sit on the beach in Marbella at that time? That wasn't the case. It was about playing football and working hard.
So I've got a couple of quick fire questions, I think, right off the interview. So first one, best player you played with and best player you played against?
Best player I've played with would be Gianfranco Zola.
Wow. And best player you played against?
Best player against would be, oh my word. Wow, there's so many.
Pick a few.
Well, I'd say Roy Keane when he used to play for Manchester United. My word.
Who, when you were defending, was like the biggest use of a striker then?
I think if I looked at somebody who who really was a handful, Alan Shearer. Wingers for me was okay but Alan Shearer, he could drift out onto the wide areas. He was strong. He was aggressive. He was nasty. He'd give you an elbow, turn around and say, "Oh, sorry about that, Tel." I played against the likes of Big Duncan Ferguson, and I played against all the big fellas. They was the Mick Hartfords of the world and the John Fashionews of the world and that. But I just think for his tenacity, Alan Shearer for me was just a nuisance, and he drift out onto them wide areas. Say, "Tell I'm having a race with you today," and he was strong as an ox. Believe me, he was as strong as an ox, and anybody will tell you that. Wingers was easy to defend against. The wingers was easy. If they was fast, I was just as quick. So that wasn't too bad. But when you got somebody drifting around into holes and trying to split defenders, coming short and going long, but aggressive and arriving on the back stick, tough. Alan Shearer for me.
Maybe this is the same question, but who would you love to have played with or against, whether now or previously? If you could, I would have
loved to have played. I would have loved to have played with Lionel Messi. I would have loved to have played against Lionel Messi and all, because I would have loved that challenge. I would have loved that.
I think you put answer the next question, which is Ronaldo or Messi.
It's got to be. For me, it's Messi all day long. Day long. I mean, I was brought up. I had a bit of everything. I had a little bit of everything, but technically, I'm left-footed anyway, and watching left-footed players was absolutely, the likes of Glenn Hoddle, who's two-footed, Terry. I think it was Tony Curry. Was Liam Brady was fantastic. Ryan Giggs, when he was on form, was probably one of the best left wingers in the world at that present time.
Yeah.
So for me, it was absolutely wonderful.
This is my last question. It's a few things in one. So, the modern game, we've got VAR. The Super League was proposed a few years ago. Transfer fees are different. You talked about the grass being different. What in the modern game would you want to change? Would you keep things like VAR? Do you think it's added to the game? Do you think it's detracts from the game? What changes would you like to see in the game?
I think the game's changed as a whole for the better. I think if you look at the stadiums for the supporters, firstly, stadiums have got better for supporters. They're more homely, because it's all about the supporters now. It's all about selling the club now, isn't it? It's all about the commercial side of the club, looking after their assets, which are the players. You've got to look after the players. That's why the sports science now is key, and the analysing the game and the coaches and the coach education around the player is paramount, and that's what you've got. I think when you look at changing the game, they've brought change to the game to make it better. Now we go on about VAR. Is it as good? Is it not as good? Do people want it? Do people want the game to flow? But for me, it has it interrupted the game. If they get it right, and I think referees now, it's a little bit of ownership of the referees now. Anybody tell me, would they like to be a referee in a Manchester derby, a Glasgow derby, or a Merseyside derby, or a North London derby, or they probably wouldn't be, because there's pressure on them now. I think it's coming to help the referees, but I think the referees now have got to use their own minds and all. Offside is offside now, isn't it? There's nothing you can do about it. The only thing I disagree with is handball. Now, is it hand to ball or ball to hand? And I keep seeing defenders going up in the air. Their hands are at a certain height. They're not interfering with a goal scoring opportunity. Maybe a striker heads the ball. It goes up in the air. It's a bit of a melee, and it drops in it. It's a defender's arm. It's a penalty. That's what I don't understand. It's different if you're putting your arm out and stopping the ball. Now, this is what I think, because defenders, we jump. We jump, our arms are in there. There's nothing we can do. We can't put them anywhere. And I'm seeing a lot of that. Offside now is a hair, isn't it? But if you're offside, you're offside. And this is the stakes now of winning a and losing games. They've brought that in now to try and fine line it, if I say, but they've got to get that right. We've seen that. I think it was a Liverpool game recently. I think it was a Liverpool game against Wolves where they didn't have cameras in the corner and they wasn't sure who was offside, what was offside. But I think for me, the game's about entertainment now. So it's more based around the fans. It's more cleaner, it's more crisper, you know. And that's the way it is. It has to evolve. It's like, you know, the old Ford Cortina. Now it's evolved into mega cars, hasn't it? So it's the same old thing. Look at that building behind you at this present time. I remember walking around Manchester and Salford as a 8-9-year-old. There was nothing there, but it's evolved. That lovely building behind you now, you know. It's
quite. I mean, there's so many buildings here that are just being built everywhere you look. Realistically,
yeah. So it just shows you, you know, the game's evolving. Whether you like it or you don't like it, that's what it is. The breakaway Super League, there's been talk about that. You know, obviously, you know, you look at the Champions League now. The Champions League format, it has evolved. The Champions League from the old days back in my day, growing up and watching it, it's evolved. Things evolve, and it's only to keep the supporters more involved in it, and all, to tell the truth.
Well, listen, that's a great note to leave the conversation on the interview, and I really thank you for your time. It's been super interesting.
Yeah, just keep faith, Manchester City fans. Hey, just keep faith. Come on.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.